Hey there, it's Louisa Tanner Munson. Just a quickie. I got a message from somebody in my community today saying, at this time of year, I'm always going through change. What's going on? Is there something in my birth chart to support it? And it's great because I had a quick look at her chart, and I just wanted to share this with you because it's a really good example of how astrology really does work and it really does play out. So I'm just bringing up her chart now. Let's make that a bit bigger. So you see, I seem to have a lot of change at this time of year. Why? Well, the first thing you do, like as an astrologer, the first thing I heard when she said at this time of year, I thought of the sun, because the sun moves 1 degree every day, roughly. The sun is always moving, but it takes a whole year to get across around the zodiac. So the sun here takes a whole year to get back around here. So if something is happening on a regular basis at this time of year, then the sun should be involved somehow. So I was thinking, okay, this has something to do with the sun, right? Because you can see this person's a Pisces. And so, often you might think if change was happening, it would have something to do with their birth sign or possibly their moon sign. And her moon sign is in the sign of Capricorn. But no, this is change is happening to her in the season of Leo. Let's have a look. Well, immediately, I see exactly what's going on. And I wonder if you can see it too. So the sun at this time of year is right slap bang over her north node. So those of you that know about the north node, you'll know that the north node is kind of like almost like a moral compass, a bit like a compass point to what is going on. It's very much about karma, or if you believe in karma, or our direction. It's kind of like the direction that we're going in and sometimes struggle in. And it shows up as a point that seems kind of significant. So, for instance, I notice in the charts of lovers and people who are married that one person's north node might be connected to the other person's planet, or to their sun or their moon, or to an angle, because the north node, it kind of has a bit of magic to it. It's pulling to us life-changing situations. And my client and person in my community, she gave me a few different examples of when change had happened in the last 3 years, in the last 4 years. And they're not necessarily all similarly themed, but it felt significant to her that she noticed that there was this pattern of change happening that created a change in her direction. So that's the first thing that I notice, is that it's right slap bang over the North Node. Now, you might see next to it, I've got like an asteroid called Chang. It's actually called Chang-E. And I just put it in for fun, because obviously Chang-E also spells change. And so sometimes I like to have a little bit of fun. It's not necessarily astrological, but it's astronomical. There are well over 10,000 named asteroids. And for instance, there's an asteroid Louisa that I use. It's not spelt the same way as I spell my name. It doesn't have an O in it, but I use it as a little tongue-in-cheek kind of indicator as to what the energy of Louisa is doing. And so I've put this in to represent the energy of change, just for a bit of fun. And, I didn't expect it to be right here in this place where the sun is at the time that she goes through change. So, what are the chances? I often find that when I do put in named asteroids, there's usually some extra significance. I think it changes astrology from maybe like 3-dimensional to 5-dimensional. It gets really fun and exciting with asteroids. But anyway, I digress. To answer this question, the next thing is I look, and in the space of 10 days, given that the sun moves a degree a day, you'll see that the North Node here is at 17 degrees. But then we've got Uranus here, which is the planet of change and surprises and chaos, spontaneity, luck, very much about consciousness and thought and the ether, the heavens. It's also about thunder and lightning and kind of chaos that comes up. It's not really a place where we see things that are planned. What we're seeing with Uranus is where things change our consciousness, and the change comes in as quite a surprise usually. So it's very much about independence and individuality. There's nothing very patterned about it. And so essentially at this time of year, the sun connects with her north node. And then over the next 5 days, it then connects to change. And then 5 days later, it's connecting to her Uranus. So what I'm seeing really is this pattern erupting whereby it feels like something karmic is changing, something has a greater significance. And then over the course of 10 days, there is a change in her consciousness that creates a permanent change or a permanent reaction to something that's going on. But then let's look a bit deeper, because if you look at the North Node and you also look at Uranus, you'll notice that there's a hell of a lot of red lines. There's a load of oppositions to this side of the chart. And in fact, we've got the South Node at 17 degrees, which is always in opposition to the North Node. We've also got Mars, which moves us and creates a physical kind of change. It has a physical impact. And we've got Jupiter that also has a kind of faith-based impact and expansion, a sense of adventure, and a sense of things changing quite quickly, like situations getting inflamed or hope coming in, and all of a sudden things get bigger. So it's interesting, as the sun is going over the North Node, creating a feeling that something's about to happen, and it getting to Uranus in that time, it's also having a reaction with Mars. So there's a physical reaction, maybe a physical resistance in her body, and also a feeling of optimism and excitement about the adventure of the changes that she's going through. But let's actually take it back a little bit further, because you can see in the sign of Aquarius, she's got her Saturn in the 6th, and Saturn shows us where we're a bit bored and a little bit too regular. So, when the sun is going in opposition to Saturn, she may already be feeling, everything's a bit too patterned right now. Everything is very calm, very stable, but there is this restlessness possibly inside her. Also, her sun is in opposition to Mercury as it's moving through the sign of Leo. So the sun could very well be creating a set of dissonant thoughts, like she's wondering when are things going to change. She might be asking herself questions like, okay, I'm feeling a bit bored, what do I need to happen for my life to change? Or what would bring me greater joy? And then it's leading up into this North Node South Node connection, and then all of these other planets. But of course, it's also at the same time going into a set of T-squares to Ceres, which is about being a mom and being part of a loving family, and about the ability to cope with lots of different threads at the same time, and Vesta, which is her core truth. So it feels like whatever change is going on affects her family and affects her sense of core truth. And if I know this person very well, which I do, and seeing that we've got Uranus in here and Jupiter, I'm pretty sure that when she does make choices and change, or even when things go wrong, she has a choice of how she feels about it, and she will always pick the choice that feels right to her moral compass and right in her knowing of who she is. So this is, to answer her question, I seem to have a lot of change at this time of year. Why? I think this really, really explains it. And if we were to take it one step further still, we would also notice that during this time, the sun is also going into a sign, into a square with Neptune. So, really what's going on here is that, my client has got a very sort of like busy time of year. She's got a very busy chart around these areas, and these areas here of mid to late fixed signs corresponds with um like it corresponds to August, and that's the main one, because obviously it's where her North Node is, and this is the time when she's reporting lots of change. But I would imagine that as the sun goes into the sign of Scorpio, not the October side of Scorpio, but the November side, and then when it's traveling into the sign of Aquarius, not the January side of it, but the February side, and then when it goes into the sign of Taurus, not the April side, but the May, like the beginning of May to the sort of last week in May, I think there will be similar times. If I was to say which are the strongest times, I would say this July side, and then after that, I would say the Aquarius side, which is the February side. So you can really see this. If you in your chart have something strongly laid out like this, like a really strong a planetary pattern, as the sun moves over one of these things, it is automatically responding to these two. So I just thought that was an excellent little example of how change happens in our charts. And I just wanted to, let you see that, so that if you've got that, or if you are in love with someone who's got that, you can see it. Also, you might notice that if your chart has got a pattern and your partner's chart has a pattern and they're both interlocking, then when a planet goes over it, it's change for both of you. Oh my goodness. Anyway, take care and speak to you real soon. Bye for now.